Imagine a frozen and wild world where two types of humans meet in the dim light of a cave or at the base of mist-covered mountains. On one side, Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors. On the other, the mysterious and resilient Neanderthals, archaic humans who lived and hunted for hundreds of thousands of years across Europe and Asia. While we share genes and traits, Neanderthals were a different version of us, with robust bodies adapted to extreme cold, complex minds, and their own unique culture. Scientists believe our paths diverged around 500,000 years ago, but the story doesn't end there. We met again in icy lands, sharing territory and even genes. In fact, some experts argue that rather than being two completely distinct species, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals were more like different branches of the same family, subspecies that left their mark on our DNA. So, who were these resilient and clever relatives that inhabited Earth alongside us? How did they live, love, and eventually vanish from history? Join us as we explore this fascinating era of encounters and discoveries. Neanderthals had the same range of blood types as modern humans. A recent study revealed that the remains of a Neanderthal woman who lived 100,000 years ago, found in Denisova Cave in Siberia, showed blood type A. Another Neanderthal woman, whose 48,000-year-old remains were discovered in Chigirskaya Cave, also had blood type A. Meanwhile, the remains of a Neanderthal woman from 64,000 years ago, unearthed in Vindija Cave, Croatia, exhibited blood type B. The simplest explanation is that the ancestors of both Neanderthals and modern humans already possessed the diversity of blood types we see today. Until recently, it was thought that all Neanderthals shared blood type O, based on comparisons with chimpanzees, mostly type A, and gorillas, mostly type B. However, recent studies have revealed that Neanderthals also carried a rare rhesus blood type, known as incomplete rhesus positive. Initially, this type was only found in a member of the indigenous peoples of the Western Desert in Australia. Today, we know this rare rhesus type existed in the past, but was lost in most modern populations. This peculiarity might have contributed to complications when Neanderthals interbred with Homo sapiens, as there was about a 1 in 5 chance that such unions would result in hemolytic diseases in babies. This could help explain why interbreeding between Neanderthals and modern humans was limited. Additionally, analyses of Neanderthal children's growth suggest that they grew faster during their early years compared to Homo sapiens infants, likely placing significant demands on their mothers. Neanderthals had large brains and required a protein and fat-rich diet from an early age to support rapid brain development. Neanderthal mothers likely needed to consume a high-calorie diet, mainly from meat, to produce enough breast milk, making child-rearing an extremely demanding task. This may have also contributed to longer birth intervals and lower birth rates among Neanderthals. Even if you don't have a particular interest in Neanderthals, these ancient encounters influenced several traits we carry today, from skin tone to hair color. We know that Neanderthals and modern humans made contact and shared genes. Now, let's imagine a hypothetical encounter between the two groups, a moment highlighting mutual curiosity and the cultural differences between these two human species. A young Neanderthal woman wandered freely through the countryside, as bare as a primate, her body adapted to the cold. She stood just under 5 feet tall, but upright, with fair skin, brown hair, and a tan that spoke of constant exposure to the sun. Around her neck, she wore an eagle claw necklace, a symbol of strength and her connection to nature. A tall Cro-Magnon man, about 6 feet in height, was a hunter clad in animal skins and a wolf fur-lined coat. His olive-toned skin, long legs, and dark flowing hair complemented his softer, more delicate facial features compared to those of a Neanderthal man. She, a child of the ancient forests, possessed sharp senses as keen as those of the animals she hunted. Neanderthals had lived in those lands for generations, and the dense forests held no secrets from her. Are you enjoying what you're watching? If so, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me keep creating content like this for you. It costs you nothing, and it motivates me a lot to keep making more videos. So if you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Her strong body, shaped by survival, reflected natural resilience. Her large, perceptive eyes missed nothing in her surroundings. As the sun dipped below the horizon, The two met, drawn together by a shared warmth both literal and metaphorical. The Neanderthal woman with her raw strength and the Homo sapiens man with his ingenuity communicated more through gestures than words. Together they lit a fire, testing the boundaries of their mutual curiosity. As the night progressed, he marveled at her innate power and presence, a living emblem of the ancient world. She, in turn, was intrigued by his subtle grace and the new ideas he brought with him. By the light of the fire, their differences seemed to fade, and they shared a moment of connection and understanding that transcended words. It's not easy to determine whether Neanderthal females preferred early Homo sapiens males or if the preference was the other way around, but there are some intriguing clues. For example, it has been observed that in Papua New Guinea, Homo sapiens women appeared to favor Denisovan males, suggesting something about the nature of those relationships in that region. Additionally, evidence indicates that male Neanderthals, with their high testosterone levels, were likely more adventurous and daring than modern humans. This might explain why Neanderthal and Denisovan Y chromosomes share certain similarities. However, when scientists analyzed the DNA of 3 Neanderthals who lived between 38,000 and 53,000 years ago, they uncovered a surprising detail. Their Y chromosomes resembled those of modern humans more than Denisovans. This finding suggests significant genetic exchange between Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, with frequent interbreeding. In fact, as Neanderthal populations dwindled near the end of their existence, their Y chromosomes might have been replaced by those of modern humans, hinting at substantial genetic mixing between modern humans and Neanderthal females. But the story doesn't end there. Other studies have revealed that Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA, the cellular machinery responsible for converting sugars into usable energy, experienced a similar fate. This type of DNA is inherited exclusively through the maternal line, passed from mothers to their children. The discovery of modern human mitochondrial DNA in Neanderthal remains suggests that our ancestors also interbred with Neanderthal males at some point, likely between 270,000 and 100,000 years ago, possibly during warmer climatic periods. Despite these discoveries, scientists still know surprisingly little about this period in history when the two species coexisted and intermingled. In an interview, French archaeologist Ludovic Slimak explained that when two populations live near one another but have significant cultural differences, such as distinct languages, unique traditions, or neighboring territories, they often exchange women. And this is an important aspect of cultural anthropology. Such exchanges were not always romantic. In traditional societies, they were crucial for forming bonds and alliances between groups. This practice, known as patrilocality, involves women moving between groups. My sister joins your tribe, and your sister joins mine. DNA evidence indicates that patrilocality and female mobility were also relevant among Neanderthals. Interestingly, when examining contact between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens about 50,000 years ago, we see that modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA, but recent Neanderthals do not carry modern human DNA. In other words, late Neanderthals carried archaic Homo sapiens DNA from earlier encounters, but no DNA from modern humans. These late Neanderthals carried approximately 10% archaic Homo sapiens DNA, a crucial detail for understanding their extinction and the nature of their interactions with modern humans. Here's a heartfelt story exploring a hypothetical encounter between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, focusing on the cultural aspects of their interactions and portraying the lives of these two human species with respect. In the dense, misty forests of the Caucasus Mountains, approximately 40,000 years ago, two groups of humans separated for millennia lived unaware of each other's worlds. The Neanderthals, with their powerful builds and piercing gazes, had dominated the region for generations, adapting to the cycles of the seasons and the rhythms of nature. The Homo sapiens, taller and more agile, had just begun venturing into these lands in search of new hunting grounds and territory. One afternoon, a group of Homo sapiens men stumbled upon something they had never encountered before: a Neanderthal camp. A plume of smoke rose from a central fire pit, filling the air with the aroma of roasted meat and herbs. Despite their differences, the Neanderthals had a complex and vibrant culture, shaped by their long history of survival during the Ice Age. The Neanderthals, broad-shouldered men with cautious expressions, noticed the visitors immediately. Their language was rough, a blend of guttural sounds and gestures, yet it conveyed warmth, more of an invitation than a threat. Curious, the Homo sapiens men approached. Both groups were aware of the other's existence. There had been distant sightings and whispers shared around campfires, but this was their first face-to-face meeting. After a tense silence, the Neanderthals extended their hands in a gesture of greeting. A robust Neanderthal leader, his face lined with age and wisdom, motioned for the newcomers to sit by the fire. The Homo sapiens men exchanged nervous glances but followed the gesture, grateful for the warmth and the chance to rest. As night fell, the two groups began sharing food and drink. Though their languages were different, gestures and expressions bridged the gap. Laughter and nods of approval followed as they passed around pieces of roasted meat and drank from leather pouches filled with fermented berries. Slowly, a sense of mutual respect and understanding grew between them, born of their shared struggle against the unforgiving forces of nature. As stars emerged in the night sky, the Neanderthal leader rose. Through a series of gestures, he called several women from his tribe. Despite the language barrier, the Homo sapiens men understood the intention. In many ancestral cultures, such gestures symbolized a way of forming alliances. The Neanderthals were offering a fusion of lineages, a profound act of goodwill. In a harsh and unforgiving world, such alliances were vital for survival, creating bonds that could secure the future of both groups. After a moment of silent contemplation, the Homo sapiens leader stood and with reverence accepted the offer. This was not merely an act of survival, it was a connection, a bridge between two worlds. That night, the two tribes celebrated together around the fire, their differences dissolving as they revealed the commonalities between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. They danced, sang, and shared stories in their own ways, their voices blending into one under the night sky. In the days that followed, the Homo sapiens men remained with the Neanderthal tribe, learning from them, sharing their knowledge, and participating in their way of life. While the merging of the two groups did not erase their differences, it laid the foundation for a deep connection, one that would endure as their survival became interwoven with one another. Over time, the children born from these unions inherited the strengths of both worlds, and their lineages became forever intertwined, a testament to the strange and beautiful ways humanity has always found to connect, even in the most ancient and untamed eras. The Neanderthals were a resilient species that survived multiple ice ages, familiar with volcanoes and other natural disasters, yet they were unaware that their days were numbered. A recent study revealed that around 40,000 years ago, several volcanoes erupted almost simultaneously in what we now know as Italy and the Caucasus Mountains, a range that spans Europe and Asia. By analyzing pollen and ash from those regions, researchers concluded that these eruptions likely reduced or wiped out local Neanderthal groups and indirectly impacted more distant populations. Scientists examined sediments from 40,000 years ago in Mezhmutskaya Cave in Russia, discovering that the layer with the highest concentration of volcanic ash contained the lowest amount of plant pollen. However, the volcanic eruptions of 40,000 years ago were unlike anything the Neanderthals had faced before. This time, it seems all the volcanoes erupted nearly simultaneously. One of these eruptions, the Campanian Ignimbrita near Naples, Italy, is considered the most powerful in Europe over the last 200,000 years. The layer with the most volcanic ash, likely corresponding to this eruption, was virtually sterile, containing no tree pollen and almost no evidence of other plants. The extinction of plant life would have reduced the number of herbivorous mammals, which in turn would have severely impacted the Neanderthals, who relied heavily on these animals for sustenance. Data from the last glacial period, which lasted roughly from 65,000 to 25,000 years ago, reveal rapid, severe, and abrupt changes with significant environmental consequences. Although the Neanderthals were physically adapted to the cold, these sudden changes left little time for populations to recover. For much of the last century, Neanderthals were depicted as brutish, with hunched postures and behaviors more akin to gorillas than humans. It was long believed that their extinction around 30,000 years ago was a natural result of competition with a more intelligent, creative, and resourceful human species, Homo sapiens. Neanderthals were thought to have lived in a state of astonishing primitiveness, walking naked like apes and making sounds more like animalistic grunts than human speech. However, Neanderthals always stood fully upright. In the early 20th century, reconstructions of Neanderthal skeletons, particularly the partial skeleton of an elderly Neanderthal from La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France, contributed to the image of these ancient humans as primitive and stooped. Now, a team of researchers has completed a virtual 3D reconstruction of the La Chapelle-aux-Saints Neanderthal, revealing that he, and by extension other Neanderthals, had a fully upright posture.